and I could see the mirror, which was like a big, big mirror in the bathroom. And all I could see was just red everywhere. It was a mess. It was like I literally walked into a horror movie. Like The Shining. But not exactly to that extent, not that much, but like to that it was like a horror movie, literally. And I didn't want to believe it. I still don't want to believe it. When I think about it, I'm like, this isn't real. This didn't happen. But it did. And it's changed my entire life. It's changed my outlook on life, my outlook on people. Without going through something like that, you can never understand. You can empathize, you can feel for somebody, you can feel horrible remorse, but you can never understand what that's like unless you go through it. And when I was at that time, in that frame, like, I was not in the frame of mind. Nobody is ever in the frame of mind to stumble upon something like that, but I really wasn't. I had just woken up. I was so, like, out of it. And I had to pause that for a second. My neighbor was being extremely loud, so I had to, coming back to reframe my mind, because I'm not exactly sure where I left off, but, oh yeah. Just please bear with me, guys. This is the first time I've talked about this really publicly like this, so I'm not entirely sure if there's a part of my brain that feels like maybe I shouldn't talk about this stuff, that it's not fair to him, that he maybe wouldn't want other people to know about this, that are outside of friends and family and whatnot. But another part of me is like, well, I'm not going into 100% depth, because if I did, I could not. It's too much. But another thing on top of that as well, it's my story too. This affected me too. I was there. I should not have had to see what I've seen, and I should be able to talk about it if I want to. So, and I do have therapists. I do talk to people. I do have a therapist, I mean. And I do talk to people that you should about these things. But I also feel like that this is my outlet to be myself, that if I'm not talking about what's really on my mind and keeps me, the deepest of thoughts that I have that I want to share, I should be able to. So if you're listening and you're judging me for talking about these things, then don't listen. You shouldn't be here, and I'm sorry that you feel offended by me talking about these things, but these are things that have happened in my life that have changed me, and there are some positive notes to what I'm going to be getting onto in a bit, but yeah, this is something that's going to affect me my whole life, and if I don't talk about it, I'll just be holding it back my whole life, and I don't think it's good to hold in things either. Now, my whole life, I've always been heavily into music, and I love singing, and I've always loved listening to music, and that has been my outlet, that has been my escape from everything. Yes, art as well has always been, and same with cannabis, but music is just something that I've always loved. But that's also what drove us together. We both loved music. And he was such an outgoing person and very bubbly, and he would bring out that part of me that I didn't know that I had because I was so shy sometimes, and that had started to happen more and more as I got older. And when I met him, he'd take it that way and made me more outgoing and more. I felt like more things I was doing I wouldn't have done if it wasn't for him being there with me or somebody like that. So we really did bond on our shared love for the same type of music, but also the shared love for music. He showed me PNB Rock, like I said, and I didn't know. I knew like one song by him, but I didn't know who he was as an artist. And he had showed me in more depth, and I really did. I really fuck with his music. I love his music, and it breaks my heart that he's no longer here. He had passed away actually on September 12th of this year. It broke my heart even more when I found that out. I was just devastated the entire day. It felt like the biggest loss, because not only did I look up to him as an artist, and not only is it so sad because of how he passed, and if anybody passes like that, it's just sad, but he had a family, he had, so much going for him, such an amazing person. From just everything that happened, it's so sad. And me and my person, Nick, we bonded with listening to his music, as well as we listened to Juice WRLD's music. Nick was also there for me when Juice had passed. I was very much upset. It broke me, honestly, when an artist passes. Of course, those who are very close to them and their family and all of that, like, they're gonna get hit with that the hardest. I mean, anybody, when you lose someone, the closest to them, of course, but it's like it's like a domino effect. There's so many people that get affected when somebody passes. It's horrible, especially when I was listening to their music to get over a loss for myself. Because when Nick had passed, I was using music even more to hold on to and get that closure. And when I found out that he had passed, it felt like I don't have the ability to get that closure the same anymore. And it would make me almost sometimes, not almost, it actually does pretty much every time now, make me very upset when I listen to certain songs or certain people because of that. Knowing that they're no longer here, and then I'll start to think of all kinds of things, and it's sad. But I'm kind of going backward and forward a little bit, so bear with me, guys. It's kind of how I operate, but it took me a long time to be able to find myself again and to be able to even go back out into the world and to exist like a normal human with other people. I still have my days where I'm really just feeling it and I get very depressed, but they're a lot more slim to none than they used to be, and it's mostly because of cannabis and because of art in most forms, like for me, with music and with drawing. With all those things combined, without those things, I don't know if I could say I'd be doing as good as I am right now. But those are my forms of therapy. And when I went to see the concert that I went to, and the first song that I heard them playing, which wasn't even performed by anybody there, it was just on speakers, was Mobamba. And I started to, my eyes started to tear up a bit. I was like, that's weird. It felt heavily like he was there, and it felt like I was meant to be there. And then later on throughout the sets, when Ski Mask comes on, and before he'd even played, his set was coming on, and they're getting his set ready. There's a bat on the stage, and when I looked at the bat, it looked super familiar. And it's not like I'd seen that bat before. I'm a fan of their music, and I'm a fan of him, but I don't really keep up with social media stuff. Like, I didn't know what their logos were for the tour, like anything going on like that. Like, all I paid attention to is really like their music if it comes out with his new song or something like that. Like, I don't pay attention to social media. I just started using Instagram recently, and that's like the main place where everybody uses their stuff. So yeah, anyway, I looked at the bat. It looks super similar to, I found out, a drawing that I'd made like the beginning of last year, so a while ago, and it looks very, very, very similar. So it was like, it kept instilling to me more and more. I really just felt like I needed to be there. And without having artists like that, without having this music in the world, it would be a lot harder for people like me to deal with what we've gone through. And I don't know if these artists that make this type of music even realize how much of an effect, of a positive impact that they make onto people like us, like me, who really do need that outlet, need something to listen to relate to feel all of these things. Anyway, I'm rambling a little bit, but it gets me a little bit emotional because there were parts of the set also where I felt like it clicked finally into my brain that I should really go forward with my dreams in life and stop being so negative sometimes, because I can get super negative when it comes to my own personal goals. I diminish myself a lot, and we do that sometimes as humans. We kind of shit on ourselves. We can be our own worst enemies sometimes, and I do that quite a lot. So I'm working very hard to not do that as much and to see my worth, because I am worth a fuck ton, and so are you guys. Whoever is listening, you are fucking amazing. You're an amazing person. You're awesome, and I appreciate you so much if you're still listening, and even if you do listen at all, I appreciate you. But before I end this podcast, and sorry guys, I know that it is kind of on a very kind of sadder note, and it's not that I'm sad right now. I am a bit emotional about what we talked about, but it's just not a very uplifting podcast. It's talking about some deep stuff, but thank you for letting me share all this stuff with you guys. And basically, I just want to say that before I end this, we just all got to be a little bit nicer to each other sometimes. We don't really know what's going on at all behind closed doors in somebody else's life, and we should just all be a little bit more kind. There's a lot more of mean and hate in this world. We don't need to add to it. So why not just be nicer? Anyway, I'm going to smoke a bowl, and I'll be back on talking with you guys again soon. Hope you guys all have a wonderful Friday. Have a great weekend, and yeah, talk to you guys soon.